anytime we started something, they would expect us to finish it whether we wanted to or not.
Most people don't take any risk at all to make more money. So they just stay average, get to a certain level, and then they stop taking risks. They can't progress because the same thing that got them there, they won't do it anymore.
And typically growth is very uncomfortable and it causes you to stretch a lot.
Benson Chidester, former CEO of Elite CEOs and now Director of Sales Advisory Practice at Acquisition.com.
You weren't the best at marketing. We weren't the best at sales. We weren't the best at fulfillment, but we figured it out and we got clients results. And so I think it's just like where there's a will, there's a way. That's what I learned from you.
You kind of like, oh, this is pretty hard. And then you go harder and you're like, oh, that maybe wasn't that hard. And it kind of resets it.
We have to break beliefs. A lot of people overestimate the risk of investing into something and they underestimate the cost of doing nothing.
All right, B-Chid, what's up, dude?
What's up?
Yeah, one of the podcasts I'm actually looking forward to. This will be good. So let's just dive right in. For people who know us separately, right, who maybe, I don't know, they're not familiar with Elite CEOs or stuff like that, how would you describe growing up, together in a, let's say, conservative household?
Well, I think the way to look at it, because I'm the middle child and also the middle brother, I think you and Karina and Alicia definitely had it the hardest. I think mom and dad probably, they got all of the bad things in their parenting style, I think, out with you three, and then they were perfect with me. I feel like they were like right in the middle.
Nice.
And then Gentry and Kendra and Noel got away with murder.
Yeah, do you think? I mean, I don't know if Alicia was. Karina and me were pretty hard, right?
No, Alicia was like the golden child, but I think mom and dad's parenting style just at that time
shifted a bit.
Yeah, it shifted. They were just super strict with you guys.
Yeah, I look back and the way I remember it was just I would basically be a perfect kid. So straight A's, like doing good in school, doing good at football, no drugs, no alcohol, and then like I'd ask them to do stuff and they'd be like, yeah, no. And I'm like, why?
Yeah,
like, just because.
Yeah,
I'm going,
because we said so.
Right. Yeah, and that really would grind my gears sometimes. What expectations do you maybe feel shaped us the most? And maybe like how did that help us and hurt us? So maybe expectations from like mom and dad maybe.
I think mom and dad, they were really big on like church and like doing what's right, and like if you start something, finish something. So obviously, like, I think the way that they raised us with our faith, that's still like a big part of my life.
Right.
But I think there were times where, it was pretty intense. And then I think like the one thing that I think was beneficial was just like anytime we started something, they would expect us to finish it whether we wanted to or not. And so that would be with sports, that would be with anything extracurricular, piano, right? You remember playing piano?
Right.
Yeah. So I think those were the good and the bad with those things. I mean, what about you?
Well, did you ever have an experience? I remember probably one of the experiences that sticks out the most was when Dad looked at me and said,
"Oh yeah."
I was 14. And I said, "Hey, like, can I go to the movies?" And he's like, "Or can I have money for the movies?" And he's like, "Well, do you have a job?" And I'm like,
"Yeah,
no." And he goes, "Well, I guess you can't go."
Yeah.
At the time, I didn't like him, but now that I'm older, some of our friends who got that, I actually am glad we didn't, because I look at them and I'm glad I don't have your life, because I feel they never really learned how to do anything hard. Did you have any moments like that with Dad and Mom?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I remember. So my first job was mowing. Do you remember the Cons? They used to live across the street. So no matter what temperature it was outside, would you like some chicken?
Oh, that's who it was, Farouk, right?
Yeah, Farouk.
Yeah, it'd be like 100 degrees in the summer, and he's like, offering chicken.
I went over with Dad, and I was like, I want to, start buying things. And Dad's like, okay, well, you have to have a job similar to you. But he went over there with me, and he basically knocked on the door, and he kind of like pitched Farouk, and then he was like, oh yeah, you can mow my lawn. And then after that, I started knocking other doors to mow lawns for money. And so I was 13 at the time. And so
I don't remember that. I don't remember that.
So I remember I knocked other doors to mow their lawns, and I would do it for like $25 a week. And I thought I was rich because I had like, 4 lawns that I'd go mow, and it was for like $25. And I'm like, oh, I'm so rich.
Wow, those guys were straight up slave labor.
Yeah, I remember that because it taught me very young. Like I had to work hard, but at the same time where we grew up, like none of our friends had to do that.
Yeah.
And you know, we were never poor by any means, but comparatively to all of our friends and how everybody else was living, like I always thought we were just like super poor.
Yeah. So obviously you don't have kids yet. You just have Alfie. Alfie's Benson's little cat, everyone.
British short hair. Super cute.
But so if you had kids, how would you raise them? Would you do kind of what dad did, or would you go a little bit more Mr. Bergeson?
Well, I've had the opportunity to see all of my siblings, all of our siblings that have kids, and some of them are very opposite end of the spectrum and they get away with everything. And then some of them are kind of in the middle, etc. I think there's things from mom and dad. It's hard to say. Like, I think it's really hard to say until you actually have the kids, but I would definitely lean more towards making them learn the hard things.
Yeah. I mean, my kid's
over like giving them everything.
My kid's not getting it's like, because I just, the thing is, I think it's either they resent you a little bit when they're younger, and then when they're older they're grateful, or they love you when you're younger and then they resent you when they're older, because when they're older they're handicapped,
and then they just rely
and you only
on
have
you
so
for
many years to
everything.
teach the lesson. So to me, I want to teach the lesson, like, making money is hard, you got to go get it. And if they're not going to go get it, it's like, cool, then you can struggle, because at the end of the day, if you try to teach that lesson for them, I think it cripples them. Personally, I'm really glad now, because I look at some of our friends and their lives are definitely far worse.
I remember, like, the older I got, the more wise I thought mom and dad were.
Right.
Like, when I first went off to college, then I went to England for my mission, and then I went to BYU, and then, you know, I did door-to-door sales, and then we started the company. And so, like, as I got older, mom and dad I've definitely seen them as more wise.
Yeah. All right, so transitioning a little bit, you know, those are your younger years, you know, getting more into, like, maybe life after football. Like, we did door-to-door sales in Alabama. So, you know, that was a pretty, I still to this day remember that. Like, it was probably the worst it was the best / worst thing I've ever been through. I hated it. I mean, you remember. There were some days. And I think
you were going to go home.
I think I did it. Well, I did it for like 9 months. How long did you do it for? I think I was out there like year 6.
You were I was like just a couple months underneath you.
Yeah, so I was out there for a while. So, you know, it was 100-degree heat. It was in the summer. What did knocking on the doors, you know, teach you that you think?
Yeah, I think just mental fortitude, because like beforehand I had done a mission where I did similar things, talking to people in the street, knocking on doors. But one, it was in cold weather because I was in England, and then two, it's like you're giving something away for free. Where if you give it away for free and you don't have to make money from it, it's like, it's a little bit less pressure. Where if that's your sole job and you're 100% commission, it brings a little bit more pressure, in the sense that you have to show up and perform every single day. And if you take a day off, you don't get paid. Right. And so I think for me, the biggest thing was just like building the mental fortitude in 95+ degree heat, and working my area and going back and knocking doors over and over and over and over again, to the point where, like, you'd knock on a door for six times and finally they'd answer. And it's like, you're the one who's been pounding on my door all day? It's like, that's me. That's exactly why I'm here. So I think it was just the mental fortitude, because I think to this day, and I'd love to get your insight, that's still the hardest thing I've ever done.
My take, I think that was a thing that finally like clicked in my brain, that how you feel doesn't matter. Yeah, because a lot of times people will say, how do you do that, or this or that? I'm like, you just decide you're gonna do it and not be a pussy. Like, I don't even know how else to say it. So, because when we would go knock, I mean, dude, it was 6. I remember, it's crazy now. We worked 6 days a week. I worked 6 days a week for 9 months. We would drive maybe, let's say, 4 hours back and forth. And then we'd be on the door for 8 hours. It was miserable. Like, we would leave. I remember we'd leave at like 9 a.m., maybe, 9 a.m.
9,
something.
10.
And then we would get back at 8 or 9 at night. And we did that for months on end. And
6 days a week.
Yeah, there were a few days where, like, you would see me implode and I would go to the movies and I would just sit there all day. But I remember the guys who would go out there and sit on the ground. I was like, it's literally just stay home. Yeah. Like, you're literally sitting out in the sun, in the hot sun, not doing anything, not making any money. I just think it built a lot of fortitude. And it also, for me, when, you know, stuff started taking off in the online business, I was like, this stuff's a joke, because selling door to door is significantly harder. A lot of people I see that don't have any sales experience, when they try to start selling, you know, in business and online stuff, they struggle because they don't have all that experience. And so I felt like I had accelerated sales school, so to speak, So then when I went to sell stuff people want, I was like, oh, you want this?
Yeah.
And they were actually wanting to be on the phone with me. I was like, it was completely different.
If you think about it too, like I think so, I think people who have played a sports that try to get into sales or get into starting a business, they typically have an advantage already because they've pushed themselves physically and mentally. And if I look at it, everything that led up to door-to-door sales pushed me in some way, shape, or form, physically or mentally, to be ready and be prepared for that moment in time.
Right.
And so like I always talk about how everybody has like big defining opportunities in their lives and small defining opportunities, and how you decide to let the little opportunities, how you decide to take advantage of those really kind of determines like the rest of your destiny.
It always builds. Mm-hmm. It always builds. And I think that's also why you can't stop, because like things like they consistently build over time. So even like, I think I'm coming out with my 7th year in business, September. Like
it'll be longer than that, bro.
Huh?
Longer than that. 2023 or 2017.
Yeah. So
it's 8 years, bro.
8. It's 8 years.
8.
So 8 years. Yeah, crazy.
It's 8.
So, but it's just like how everything stacks, right? And then you're able to like continue to do harder and harder things that you couldn't have done before because you don't have the experience. And a lot of people, they just try to, I don't know, get away from that, and that's why they don't progress. I think Alice Becker said it best, like people most people don't take any risk at all to make more money, so they just stay average forever.
The risks.
Some people take a risk, and then they get to a certain level, and then they stop taking risks, and because they stop taking risks, they can't progress because the same thing that got them there, they won't do it anymore. They get comfortable, and so that really reinforced me. It's like, even like seeing Alex Becker and Sam Ovens and what I'm doing now, it's really you're just leveraging more and more and more and more and more, and that's how you like grow. It's not necessarily I don't know, sometimes not even working harder. Like now I don't even think I work harder.
Smarter. It's working smarter, having better vehicles to push
it's just better vehicles, in the right direction. More leverage.
Yeah.
So you've worked under me, unfortunately, right? Cole Gordon, I know that's one. Alex Hormozi, so those have been the last 3 people you've worked under, I think, right? Is there no one else, right?
That's it.
Those are the last 3.
I was with you for forever. And
those are the last 3 people you've worked with. Let's say, if you can come up with one, you don't have to with everyone, but what's the number one lesson you've learned from each of them? It could be business or it could be something else.
I think with you, obviously, because it was like me, you, and Gentry, and that was for like 6 years. I think the biggest thing with you is just like where there's a will, there's a way. And so like I think one thing that Dad passed on to us is like the blue collar type mentality. And I think when we first started, it's like you weren't the best at marketing. We weren't the best at sales. We weren't the best at fulfillment, but we figured it out and we got clients results. And so I think it's just like where there's a will, there's a way. That's what I learned from you. It's just like, it doesn't matter. Just show up and do it. I think over at Closers, it was really cool because I was part of the leadership team over there on the sales side. It was really cool to be able to see how, Cole and then the director there, David Dre, it was really cool to see how, one, they interacted with the team and their leadership styles, how they were different, but how it blended really well and efficiently with the team. And then just 2, it was really cool to see, because I was so used to your leadership style, which is very intense sometimes, where like Cole is showed me the opposite side of the spectrum, where it's like he was very fair and understanding at times. And like there were a lot of times I was like, dude, like I'm very curious to see how he's going to respond. And like he handled it like a pro. So I think for me, it was just being able to understand how to become a better leader myself. And then obviously, now acquisition, there's so much I've learned. I feel like there's been a gap every time, like with you, I learned so much. And then over at Closers, I learned this much. And now here I've learned a lot. I think with Alex, because the book launch just happened, I was talking to him. I was just like, dude, like you could have stopped when you hit the record of the book. And like he would have been 100% justified. And everybody would have been like, oh yeah, he hit the record, like good for him, like awesome. Like nobody would have thought anything of it. But I was just like, dude, when it's easy, it's like you went harder. And he's like, yeah. And so like he showed up, he did 10 hours the first day. Then the second day was like, 6, and then the last day or the third day was like 5. And he didn't have to do any of those. He did an encore and then he did like a third day live. Yeah. And so like for me, it's just like when it's easy, go hard. And that really reinforced to me just how much I have to grow in my own mental capacity to just like do stuff over and over and consistently, and what it really takes to be the best.
Yeah, it's like resetting the bar for the 4-minute mile.
100%.
Like once you see
it's breaking beliefs.
Right. It's like you kind of like, oh, this is pretty hard, and then you go harder, and you're like, oh, that maybe wasn't that hard. And it kind of resets it. Yeah, and for anyone who is living under a rock, Alex, he did 3.5 million books in 72 hours, I think. Pretty crazy. And they did 100, I think it was 105 million total. Yeah, which is pretty insane. Only took me about 6 years to do that, so no worries there. So now obviously, you're working at Acquisition now. I think they're already billionaires if they haven't said so, or they're going to be. They should be. I'm pretty sure they are now.
Probably, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they are now. So Leila and Alex are billionaires. What would you say like separates, let's call them $1 billion operators from maybe good entrepreneurs? So like take a small, like mom and pop, or like, some of the clients you've worked with in the past are doing 50, 100 grand a month, whatever. And then obviously Alex and Leila.
So I think there's two things. One is like poor people will copy like what experts do, and then rich people copy how experts think. And so like watching how they think and the reasoning behind why they think the way they do and the frameworks behind everything they do has been extremely fascinating to see. And then number two, I think I can't even remember the second question. What was the second question?
No, so you're good.
Sorry, dude.
No, you're totally good. It's just what separates. Let's call them $1 billion operators from regular folks, or like a good entrepreneur, so to speak.
Yeah. So I think with them in business, a lot of people learn tricks, and we were talking about this when we were working out. A lot of people learn tricks and it works, and that's great. And then over time, that trick, it doesn't work as efficiently. And so you either have to pivot or do something new in business. And most people would rather die on the hill trying to get the same thing to work again instead of pivoting and figuring out how to adjust. And I think that is what separates Alex and Leila so much to a lot of other entrepreneurs, is that when something stops working, they just accept it and then they move on and figure out different strategies.
It's funny you bring that up. I would say everything works basically flawlessly for me for 5 years until I had to like pivot. It's funny you say that, because a lot of people, what I've learned is, it goes probably anything. You actually have to love business to stay good at business, because if you're only trying to get to a certain revenue level and then you hit it, you stop trying to improve. The problem is, because you stop trying to improve over time, economics catch up, the competition
cost
catch up.
Acquisition,
right, and
everything.
So you start to slide. And so a lot of these people, they're like, I just want to make this much. And it's like, that's great. But because you're not trying to progress anymore, you won't grow anymore.
Yeah, the business
and then
will
over
die.
time, it's like they don't just grow, it dies. Yep. And so going to your point, I think that's why when people fall in love with the game and they actually love progressing and growth and doing difficult things, they naturally just do it over time. And it doesn't even have to be a lot. But if you're pushing 1% every day versus the other person is pushing 0%, in 2 years' time, you're in a completely different spot. That took me a while to understand, because for me, I remember when, Alicios hit a huge number. I mean, we were like 2 million a month, dude. It was like a huge number. I mean, just residuals and like all the front end stuff. And then it started going down. And I thought for a while, I didn't know this at the time. At the time, I thought it was an issue with us, issue with like team, issue with strategy, whatever. And then we did everything in my power to fix it. And then like it quote unquote wasn't fixed. And I said, oh, this is business. Like this is economic. It was a competition, COVID, right? Like I was like, oh, COVID happened. And that made I didn't realize how much that helped us.
Oh, it was insane.
I didn't realize how easy that made like getting
us.
leads and sales. Yeah. So I think that's a good insight, because I really believe in that now, because I've been in it 7 years now, coming on 8, I see the people who stop and they go out of business. And so they have a few good years, they make some good money for a few years, and then that's it. And they're not, it's more so they're just not willing to keep getting in the fire.
Keep getting in the trenches. It's
yeah.
just like you have to be willing to go back and do it. And so like, for example, in this book launch, Alex rewrote our entire sales handbook. Right. So he got back into the trenches and looked at everything that our team was doing, and he rewrote certain aspects within it to make it even better. And so it's just like you have to be willing to do that if you want to be anything great in life.
So you're one of the advisors, right? Would you call yourself the advisor?
Yeah, sales director.
Okay, so sales director, not the same, but I mean, I struggle
sales
with.
director of the advisory practice.
Benson basically works with a lot of businesses now at a high level. So if you had to give someone a framework for building a scalable business, what would you say, or what would you steal maybe from Acquisition's playbook, or what would you say to do now? Like on average, and you work with a lot of companies, so maybe talk about the biggest issue and then what you usually tell them to do to fix
it. It depends on where the business is at revenue-wise. There's different businesses that are at different revenue, incomes. And so it really depends. I obviously deal very heavily with the, sales and acquisition side and top, middle, bottom of the funnel, and being able to make that more efficient. I would say the biggest things that I typically see with businesses, even the ones that are doing, high revenue numbers as far as 8 figures, is number one, their sales team efficiency is lacking. And what I mean by that is that most of these people, their team is selling way under capacity, meaning their teams are closing at very low show rates or very low closing rates. Their team doesn't do any training. They don't ever do role plays, things of that nature. And so I would say the bigger businesses, it makes a bigger impact with the smaller tweaks. Like the bigger the business, the smaller the tweak you make, the bigger the impact. I would say the smaller businesses, it's usually a belief barrier breaking component that we have to go through. And so those businesses could be anywhere from 0 all the way up to even 100K a month. And a lot of those business owners, they have a belief that needs to be broken because they don't think they can actually hit their revenue targets because either one, they don't have anybody in their circle that's doing it and they're the biggest fish in the pond, or two, they're a first generation entrepreneur. And so we have to break beliefs. And so when it comes down to breaking beliefs, I've found that most business owners, again, would rather just stay in the same spot and be told, here's what you need to do, and still not do anything about it. And so we can give them the right strategy. We can give them the right frameworks. We can reframe them all we want. But most people typically stay stuck because they just don't want to put in any work or effort.
I think it just comes down to they don't want to do the hard thing again. Like, so for me, and I understand this mindset, is like when we knock doors, like it's hard. And then the next day it's hard. And the next day it's hard. And you get tired of doing hard things. But the irony is if you don't do that, it stays hard. Like, meaning you can eventually do the new thing that's difficult and you'll get over the hump and we'll go back to easy for a time, right? It doesn't last forever. But instead, they'd rather just do the littlest amount of work or the least amount of effort, and the business just continues to stay stuck. And I'm going, it would be easier if you just took the harder path, almost like a workout. Right? They take the easiest workout. It's just funny. It's funny that you see the same thing because it's the same thing over and over. And then sometimes you'll tell them what to do, and they'll, instead of doing it, they'll justify why they shouldn't do it. Or that's wrong, or my situation's different, I'm a snowflake.
Exactly, yeah. And it's funny because you'll see some businesses and they've been stuck for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And the really good business owners, they don't stay stuck for very long because they recognize that it all comes back to them and their lack of leadership or their lack of taking action. The ones that typically stay stuck for a very long time, they always blame everybody else except for themselves. And then, when I'm closing, I can do X, Y, Z. Well, what's stopping you from getting back into closing? I just don't want to do it anymore. Okay, why is that? And, it typically comes down to they don't want to have to get back into it. So to your point, I definitely agree.
Yeah, it drives me nuts, to be quite honest with you.
You love fulfillment.
What I love, the best clients I have, they just usually have the biggest balls.
Yeah.
I remember we had these clients come in, they were physical therapists. Shut down their in-person clinic, went 0 to 100K in 30 days, got all their Facebook ad accounts shut down, went basically back to 0. It took them 60 days to get it back. And then they went 0 to 250 in 30 days. And I'm like, and they're just psychos. They're like, they try to give a lot of credit, but I'm thinking, dude, the reality is like 99% of people that were in your situation want to quit. Because I've seen it happen 100 times. So it's just more so them versus what I told them, even though they think that. So you've seen sales teams at every level now. Obviously, you've seen a lot. What's maybe the most common mistake business owners make in sales, you think?
When it comes to their sales team or just in sales in general?
Yeah, sales or sales team.
The bigger businesses, when it comes down to their sales teams, the number one most underutilized aspect every single team doesn't do is role plays. And for some reason, the teams and the sales managers, they have massive pushback on doing this. And when I ask people if they role play, they're like, yeah, we'll do it once like every month. It's like our team does it daily. So the way I look at it is like
when you say role play, you mean is it the closing part or is it the whole thing?
Any part of the call. It could be discovery. It could be the intro.
So does one person just pick where you move it around?
Yeah. It also comes down to what is the team struggling with the most. And what's the one area that the team needs to focus on the most as like a general whole entire team? And that's what we focus on for the day. And so you can kind of you can kind of like subsection it where each day of the week it's like, hey, we're going to focus on intro today. Day 2, we're going to focus on discovery. Day 3, we're going to focus on the pre-pitch. Day 4, we're going to focus on, the pitch. And then day 5, it's, handling objections. Most people just don't do it. And the way I look at it is like playing football. We used to do scrimmages and we used to go live full pads before we would have our games. That is exactly what role playing is it's the closest thing to live action. And if you don't do that, how do you expect to go out on the field when you actually talk to a prospect who's throwing curveballs at you and you don't know how to handle the objections?
But do you find that role plays are more helpful than, let's say,
100%,
like a recorded sales call?
100%.
Really?
Yeah. Role plays is the number one thing. Number 2, I would say, is actually call reviews.
Interesting.
And the call reviews you can do once a week, with your whole team, but then the managers, the directors, anywhere from 3 to 5 call reviews per rep per week is typically going to be the thing.
Who's overseeing the role plays?
That'll be the sales manager typically. Yep.
And you guys do one at a time?
We'll have the team break off in little, subsections. So, hey, two guys, they'll pair up. And then what we'll do is we'll have like our higher, end guys or our best guys. They'll go first, like individually to edify what good behavior is. Then we'll have like middle of the pack guys and then end off with another high performer. So it just edifies what good looks like. And then,
but is it you said pairs of 2s?
Yeah. So there's 9 sales guys
so you
on
like
the team.
Break out or
there's 9 sales guys on the team and 7 setters, right? So it's like we break out paired in 2s, right? So they'll do,
and the setters have their own like role play, quote unquote, right? Yeah.
Yep. So the thing with setters and sales reps is like a lot of people will try to do separate meetings. It's like it's very similar, and it's pretty much the same thing as far as training goes. So it's like train them together. And then it allows the setters and the closers to actually communicate together about certain leads that they've set on the calendar. So it's actually really important to do that. And then, after then, the sales manager will go one by one and pick out a few people to do role plays to show, hey, here's what good looks like, here's not so good, and here's what good is again. And then I would say call reviews is after that. But most people don't even do call reviews either. They're like, oh, yeah, I do a call review once every 30 days with my team. It's like, that's not good.
Yeah, won't name any names, but one of the companies that someone we know started working at, I don't think they were doing anything. I guess that's good though. I mean, it's good when a company's not doing anything because it's very easy to get them results because they're doing nothing. But it also is a little bit entertaining at the same time. So at least CEOs, you were there 5 years?
6.
So looking back, hopefully this will be good for the listeners. Like, what's something I did that you would do differently? And like, don't go to the list. I know is long, probably, but like, maybe the main thing.
I think with you, dude, like, I think one thing that I've gotten very aware of with my own weaknesses is that I'm very process orientated, and so sometimes I find myself like I'll go through the motions and I have to catch myself. I think vice versa with you is like you have a tenacity that most people don't have. But also at the same time, that tenacity, I think, sometimes rubs people the wrong way or comes across in a demeaning nature, even though you don't mean for it to. You're just very competitive, and that's who it is. So I think our personalities are just very different too, right? Very different in a lot of ways, but also very similar in some. So I think it's just like...
Yeah, I mean, I just remember sports, like, especially in college, like, I'd sack the quarterback, and they'd be like, you mother effer, you're supposed to blitz. So... I just learned to like have really thick skin, and some people, I think their skin is so soft, like they can't take they take everything like super like negatively when like I can understand that, but you just realize over time, at least for me, like in sports and stuff, I was like, yeah, like they're just coaching me, and that's how they are. So I don't know. I think sincere candor is probably the word that comes to mind. Yeah. It's like there's more there's more positive ways to bring it up to other people. Yeah, and you're probably right. I think sometimes the amount of energy people, and this is probably a weakness, but just the amount of energy someone will put into making sure it comes off the right way, like they'll 2 or 3x their energy output, and I'm thinking, dude, like that sucked. Do better. Like instead of. Well, I think it also, No, I understand. I think it also comes down to who you're talking to, right? So one thing, like with Leila, that she's talked about is that she interacts differently with every person in the company because every person is different, right? Everybody's personality is different. So based off people's personalities, she can interact with people differently. I just say that's a strength of hers because that takes a lot of energy. It does. Like, I remember I was texting her about something random, and you could tell she's a CEO because she goes, man, I totally understand how you'd feel that way. Have you thought of this? And I'm sitting there laughing. I'm like, Leila, like, it felt like it was like, she's done this a few times, right?
It's just so funny to see the complex between her and Alex, because she's like I consider her one of the boys. Like she's super cool, super down to earth, and so is Alex. But Alex is just like, yay, and she and like he's just like total bro, like big brother energy. And then Leila comes in and she's like, okay, we're gonna keep things professional and keep a good image of the company, stuff like that. So it's just it's super funny.
She balances them out. Okay, so we got 6 siblings between us, or 7, including
7
us.
Total.
The kids, I feel the kids have all gone a little bit on different paths. Mm-hmm. So like specifically, maybe with religion, let's talk about that, and your faith. What's kind of maybe like kept your beliefs where they are, like kept you pretty, I don't know how to say it, maybe like you're pretty strong in like your views, versus maybe some of the other kids in the family know, or just people in general?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to experiences. I think I've had a lot of, I would say like spiritual experiences, being able to serve a mission. And then, coming back home, meeting Cheyenne when I did, getting married in the temple, being active as something teachers for a very long time, then being in the nursery, and then moving here to Las Vegas and having a really great, ward. It's basically like a branch. And so I think I've just had a lot of experiences. It's not necessarily one thing, but I think it's just been a lot of experiences where I've just, anytime I make decisions that are geared around my family, aka Cheyenne and Alfie, and then the gospel, everything in my life tends to go better. Mm-hmm. And so I think for me, it's just those things are very important to me, because my life is better when those things are at the top of my priority list.
Well, what would you say, like I look at our childhood and it's like, you probably have some gratitude for the discipline we had, but, maybe, I don't even know if I would say expectations, but it just felt to me, it was like, good luck. Like, hope your life works out type deal energy. Yeah. So, now that you're older, I don't know, like what would you say your overall view and experiences of that? Like my view is I'm glad it happened, because I think it really helped me got to where I'm at. I mean, it kind of like feels unfair as a kid, but when you get as an adult, the reality is like once you hit 18, you're out in the world on your own.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up, because when I was getting ready to go play at Cisco, and I signed my letter of intent, I remember Mom was so mad at me.
Really?
Mom was super mad. And the reason why I was just like, Mom, why are you so mad? Like, shouldn't you be happy for me? I'm getting a scholarship. I'm going to get my school paid for. I'm going to be able to play football. And she was just so mad, because she's like, it ruined your brother's body. And so she was super mad about everything that happened with you at BYU and how it like affected you mentally, physically, etc. And she just didn't want the same thing for me. And at the time I was super mad. I'm like, shouldn't you like be supporting me? Like there's other kids who like aren't even going to college or getting their college paid for. Like, what the heck? Like, come on. And I just look back now and I'm just like, Mom just wanted me. She just wanted what was best for me. And she didn't want me to get hurt like you did. But then I remember I got there and she was like super supportive. Dad and her drove out to like a handful of games that were super, super far away from them in West Texas. And I just remember seeing them at the games and just like, man, I am so blessed to have 2 parents who love me and are willing to come out and like watch my games and take their whole weekend to do so, when some of the guys on my team, they had no parents, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, it was, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of glad. It was weird. It didn't feel like they had quote unquote expectations. Maybe.
I think their expectations were live the gospel and everything will work out. That was their expectation. Yeah. It's like, be good, go to church, like read the scriptures, pray, all those things, and life will work out. That's basically how they framed it.
I think for me, that's probably accurate. I think for me that kind of annoyed me at times because like when things wouldn't be working out, I'm like, like,
I'm doing everything I should be doing.
I can pray about all I want, but that's not going to make kids like stop effing with me or whatever else. Mm-hmm. And I think for me at least, like fitness and like when I went to the gym and I studied and I did these things, I would see benefits. Mm-hmm. I was like, I study, I make A's. I go to the gym, I kick everyone's ass on the field. Mm-hmm. That was like actually reinforcing. Input, yeah, versus like, I prayed every day this week and like did something happen from it. And I'm not saying that's bad. It's just I think that's part of why I am the way I am, because I'm just like, when you want an output, you put in the input, you get the output. If you don't put in the input, you don't get the output at the end.
Whenever me and Gentry left Elite CEOs and exited out, there's a quote by Richard G. Scott, and pretty much it goes along the lines, and this has been my mantra for the last 2 years, but he basically says that when life throws you a multitude of trials in your path, and it's not due to like your wrongdoings or like making dumb mistakes, it is God basically preparing you for a lot of growth. And typically growth is very uncomfortable and it causes you to stretch a lot. And so that quote really, really helped me whenever I exited the company, and I look back in my life and I'm like, pretty much every time before I did something, it's like I had other challenges arise that really just like pushed me to be the best of my ability.
Yeah, I find that's it's pretty annoying, to be honest. There's a book I'm reading right now.
Is it that love book?
No, it's not a love book though. It's not a love book. It's the Road Less Traveled.
That's right.
And basically, it's going through the book and it's talking about why people have shitty lives or why they don't have the best life. And it's still early in the book, but basically, it's one of the sections I'm talking about, or it's going through right now. It talks about different things. It talks about discipline, depression. It goes through like a bunch of stuff, right? It's hard for me to retain all of it sometimes because either my head's elsewhere, or like I'm traveling, or like I'm in Vegas, I've been a little tired. But there's a section right now that's talking about like loving someone. Mm-hmm. It says some interesting things, but it was saying something like true love is about spiritual growth, and then any other type, like anything else that is attached to that, like is not, like meaning like you say you love someone because they do XYZ, but I mean, at least something I've noticed is that a lot of times, even things we want to do, if it's not difficult, we can't grow from it because it's not difficult because we want to do it. Which obviously like is a little bit ironic because, obviously doing things you want to do it sometimes is good. But I think something that I've started to realize is just because I want to do it doesn't mean I should do it. And that's really weird.
Or that you have to.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's weird as a grown man, I think, because from 22 to 27, the way I view it is I just want to make a ton of money so I can do whatever I wanted, with who I wanted, whenever I wanted. Mm-hmm. And then you get to 20, I got to 27, I got there, and then people are like, oh, you probably shouldn't do that, you shouldn't do this. And I was kind of like, F you, mother effers. Like, I couldn't freaking do that. Now I'm going to do whatever I want. Now I'm 33, and I think there's some wisdom in that because if you just do whatever you want, whenever you want, hypothetically, you can't really grow and progress. And like, I don't feel as good. Like, I feel my best when I'm actually doing difficult things versus when I'm not. I don't feel that good.
Well, I think it also comes down to the discipline of having impulse control, right? Because some of the most successful people I know, they're just better at handling their urges right then and there. And so their impulse control is just higher and more, I should say, fortified than other people who aren't as successful.
Right.
Because just because you see them, it doesn't mean they don't have the same urges you have.
No,
right?
I had to learn that over time. I think when I was younger, I thought when you got older, things got easier. I think the reality is you feel exactly the same. You just
get
handle
better.
it different.
Yeah.
Like, so literally, I think that was annoying for me because I was like, oh, when I'm older, I'll get less angry, or I'll get less impatient. And 6 years later, I'm like, oh, you're still a dumb mother effer. But it's just, instead of maybe, like freaking out, you just decide, and you just like let it roll. Yeah, which I guess that's the game of life. But I find it a little bit annoying because I'm like, so is this going to bother me forever? Maybe the highest level of enlightenment, it eventually doesn't bother you. But where I'm at right now, it's like, it's not there. It's like a little baby step up. It's like, I feel the same, but I just handle it differently.
Yeah.
Okay, so for us, obviously, I think most people can look at us. They know fitness is non-negotiable. I think it is. When I don't work out, like I don't want to say I'm dependent on it, but it just makes my days better.
Yeah.
I feel better about myself. I feel some pride. I just sleep better. I perform better, etc. So what's one principle maybe from the gym that you think transfers into business?
Oh, gosh, there's so much. I think for me, like, because I wake up really early to go. You've been coming to the gym with me at 5. You're probably up at 4:30 to get there.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's just like the consistency. So it's pretty interesting. You'll see a lot of business owners or just people in general. They go through these sprints, or they'll do 75 hard or that stuff for a short season, and then they stop, and then they fall off, and then they like end up right back where they were. I think for me, it's just consistency. So what I have learned through consistency is that it doesn't matter if you want to do it or not. If you just show up and do it, it's always easier than you think it's going to be. And I think in our minds, we suffer more in our minds than we actually do in reality. And so once you actually get there and you get going, you're like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. Or talking to this prospect, I'm not as nervous as I thought it was going to be. Or, doing these outbound calls, it's not as bad as, or as scary as I thought it was going to be. And so I think for a lot of people, they just can't get past that anxiety or that initial emotion of, oh, this is going to be kind of scary. But once you get past that, it's game over if you can just do that.
Yeah,
just show up.
We usually play it up more in our minds than it actually is in reality.
For sure.
Like even today, after we trained, because the Stairmasters are broken at acquisition, I went back, sat down, did 45 minutes of work, and then I contemplated doing Stairmaster, and I ended up doing it. But I'm walking out, I'm like, motherfucker, this whole thing. But once you start, once you do it, and then you're done, you're like,
so much better.
Yeah, and you feel good that it's like I pushed through that moment or that feeling of like I didn't want to do it. And man, I don't know, like I think without sports or dad, I don't think we'd get to this level. I don't, people who don't do anything difficult as kids, I'm like, man, they must have just terrible adulthoods because they've never done anything hard. I think as a parent, your job is to make sure your kid does some hard shit. So you actually build some resilience. If you had to design, let's call it the ultimate entrepreneur's like training program, so mind and body or whatever you think they need to do to become a beast, what would it look like? So maybe, they get up at this time, they do this, they do that, etc.
Oh man. Ultimate CEO fitness and business guide. Number one, I mean, I would just say we just wake up earlier. I think it's amazing, at least for me, like if you just wake up a couple hours earlier, how much more productive you can be with your day. So instead of sleeping until 8, why don't you wake up at 6? Wake up earlier, definitely work out. Doesn't matter what you do. It could just be doing something, go on a walk, it could be for 30 minutes or less, but just like move your body. It's just like the endorphins that flow through when you actually move your body. It's just like, I feel so much better because my endorphins are flowing. Secondarily, I would say for any entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. I think you're a big believer on this. Just get a mentor. Like it doesn't matter who, but whatever you're trying to do, get a mentor. And the way to look at getting a mentor, I think we see very eye to eye on this. So feel free to chime in. Is just like, have they done what you're trying to do? Right. So clearly, like if they've done what you're trying to do, that's the way to go. 2, it's like, how big is their business or do they still have a business? Right. So some people, it's like they've been out of the game for 25 years. In my opinion, when you're that far removed, it's like you aren't up to speed on actual trends. And then number 3 is like, have they gotten results for a lot of other people like you, et cetera? And then I think the last thing that a lot of people sleep on is actually reading. I think reading, and I think you were talking to Kaloa about this, I think reading is a very underutilized resource for a lot of people. And what a lot of people do is they get into their craft and they never learn anymore, right? It's like going to school and graduating, but then you never actually like practice or re-up your knowledge in that specific field. It's like you're going to forget a lot of things. You aren't going to be mentally sharp. You aren't going to be aware of market trends that are going to be happening in the marketplace. So I think that would be my ultimate guide if I had to. Yeah,
the reading thing, I'm glad you brought that up. I think the way you learn is you get different ideas from different people. Like I'll meet someone, I'm like, wow, that's a very interesting take. And then it makes me question my beliefs. But the cool thing about books is you can get a book way easier at any time, anywhere. You can read, pretty much where, planes, before bed, whatever. But you can see their viewpoint, but it's also like less biased, right? Because sometimes when you're talking to someone, they're very biased. But when you read a book, sometimes I feel the way they lay it out, it's like kind of like, yeah, take it or leave it. I don't really care. It's not like necessarily trying to convince you. And so you can take it for what it is. I find when I read more, that's when I get a lot of ideas. Because like the only way to get ideas is you have to hear different things. Because like if you don't have the idea.
Hear, see, or observe, I think.
The idea has to come from somewhere. So one of the easiest things to do, in my opinion, is read, because it's hard to, do you want to get lunch? Do you want to get coffee? Like nobody wants to do that or has time for that. Like, to be honest, like when people ask me that, that's why I started doing the podcast, because I'm like, nobody wants to get lunch, bro.
If you want to have good friends, see them less.
Right. So I agree, especially with the reading part. Okay, so let's move a little bit into maybe worldviews that you have. Do you think society is getting mentally weaker, or maybe it's just different in general?
I think the way some people look at life, it is not reality. And I think things are changing, the way that AI is moving and the way that technology is moving forward. I think it's making a lot of things easier, but I think it's making people who don't want to have to think hard, I think it's making them dumber. No, for real. Because if you think about it, like the people who are lazy, they'll use AI and forget how to think and not know anything. And the people who do know how to think for themselves, they'll use AI and they'll crush everybody else.
I saw a podcast on that they're saying that it's making people dumber because like you're not using any brain power to think. You're just basically like,
AI let's just ask ChatGPT.
Right.
Where I think the smartest people, and this is why, you know, this is why the book launch was so exciting to be a part of in breaking so many world records, is that like the AI that obviously like that Alex created or the company created, it's literally like Alex's brain.
Yeah, you know what I think was super different about it is it lets you input your business stats. That I think was the big thing because I haven't played with it enough.
Yeah.
But ChatGPT, you're like telling it stuff up front, but like with Alex's thing, like you input that stuff and then based on those numbers, he gives you a different answer. That's what it seems to me so far. I don't there might be more different with it, but I think that was the biggest thing.
It's very customized, but it's like he's consulted so many businesses. Imagine getting his frameworks and understanding how he thinks. And then again, it comes back to what I said earlier is like poor people, they copy what rich people do, right? And rich people, they actually copy how experts think. And so I think that's like a really good way for a lot of people if they want to get smarter, look at people who are ahead of you and look at how they think and why they think that way and take that same thought pattern and recognition into your own business, life, etc. Because you'll be better off for it.
If you could rewrite the rules of success or like, you know, we'll say how to be successful, what's one thing that you'd either demand schools or parents start teaching immediately?
Oh man, it was cool. That's so interesting because I deal with entrepreneurs and it's funny, the amount of entrepreneurs who actually homeschool their kids now, it's actually a lot. I've talked to a lot recently and they're starting to homeschool their kids because
who does the homeschooling, the mom or the dad or both?
It'll be mixtures of both. Yeah, for business owners, moms, dads, etc. And it's interesting because they feel that a lot of the school systems, you know, it teaches you certain things that like you need to know, right? Like math and you know, subtraction and how to write and stuff like that. But they just feel like I can teach my kids like what a stock is. And I can teach them, you know, how to actually go in and buy a home and what a mortgage payment would look like. And so a lot of them just think that they can teach their kids more real life applicable things that they've learned in business and apply it to their own lives to get them ahead of other people.
Well, I'd agree with that. I mean, I didn't learn anything past 6th grade that was helpful. Like all the things I use now, it's like arithmetic, a keyboard, writing, English.
Keyboard was definitely the most like applicable.
Yeah,
thing
I mean, but I'm curious. Like when I hear that, I just think of myself as an entrepreneur now. I mean, maybe it'll change, but I'll be so busy doing my own thing that like having a homeschool kid, I don't know. I feel I'm more go the private route. You know, but I would want it to be maybe a little bit more challenging, like the curriculum, because a lot of the curriculum, a lot of the stuff, even when I was an engineer, you learn all these things, these mathematical formulas, and then they give you a computer and you just type it in. You know, I'm like, I just like.
So what's the point of me having to do it?
Yeah, like, and I mean, I just like stuff that's applicable. And you know, I look back at mom and dad, like, I didn't learn a lot of things through mom and dad per se, or like, you know, they've taught us some stuff, but I don't think I learned a lot of like what I know about business or money or finances or investing or any of that stuff. There's been a little bit from dad, but now that I'm older, it's like, that's like all the stuff that they don't teach you in school. It's like, or most of the stuff they teach you in school, is a waste of time. It's like absolute waste of time. Like meaning you're never going to use it again. So I think just learning things to learn it has a place. Like if you're reading a book and you just enjoy the book, great. But I mean, as a kid, it's like you spent 18 years. I'm like, dude, we could have just cut down this by like, I don't know, like 6 years. Like everything I learned that I needed to know, 12 years old, it's like I was ready to go. Like I don't feel like like anything really after that was just super high level math or super high level science. And like unless you're going to become a doctor or something like that, it's not really beneficial. So yeah, it's an interesting take. What's one belief about money, business, or life that most people around you think is wrong, but you're convinced it's true? So maybe something that's like disagreeable, but you're like, yeah, this is 100% accurate.
I think a lot of people overestimate the risk of investing into something and they underestimate the cost of doing nothing drastically. And so I think a lot of people, they always look at, oh, what's the risk? What's the downside, et cetera, which like, you know, it's good to do. Those are high information type buyers. But what a lot of them don't do on the other spectrum is weigh through what will happen if I don't do anything.
There it is.
Right. And so I think that's a big thing for me. And, you know, I think Alex said it best in the book launch is like every entrepreneur who's done something worthwhile right? He used Elon. He bet all he had, and then he made it back, and then he bet more and more and more, and then the whole company.
He keeps taking risks,
and so it's bigger risks. And so I think what a lot of people get stuck in is, I'll hide my shillings over here underneath underneath the mattress, versus going out and actually learning a new skill. And what I've found with myself investing, and the best of the best is like the best people don't look at a financial ROI necessarily as like winning. It's like it's learning the new skill to be able to stack and accrue over time and skill stack.
No, that's actually really, I agree 100%. I look at, I always make this joke, but I was going to be an engineer, make $100,000 a year. So over 6 years, Elite CEOs, we did 100 million minimum. And so the difference would have been, let's say it's 115 to be more accurate. So the difference was $114.4 million difference. But what most people do is they get the degree, they don't start the business, and they never know. So they're like, I made $600,000 in 6 years. It's like, dude, you missed out on 9 figures worth of money. But they never think of that. And I think that's a huge thing for most people is they're so scared that they won't take any risk. But the irony is like, you have to take a risk to get to where you want to go. Yeah. And a lot of times it's like pretty calculated. Like, I paid $10,000 and it was like a bad course. It's like, yeah, but you spent $250 to go to Harvard, and what did that get you? Honestly, it's crazy what these colleges will charge per semester, but people will lose their minds about paying $10K or $20K for.
Yeah, I mean, going the entrepreneur route, it definitely is more risky. Like it definitely is, but there's untapped earning potential where going the college education, sticking with the job, that's more like stability, right? For some people.
I guess kind of like, dude, I don't know. Like to each their own, and obviously like I live a little bit more lavishly than other people, but I look at what I spend in a year, and let's say like I spend, I think most I've ever spent in a year is less than 10% of what I make, right? And so let's say in an average year, I'll spend anywhere between, I live pretty lavishly, but I'm also like not stupid. So let's say $250, right? And so if my take home is 2.5 million or 3 million, whatever, $250. And to be frank, like I just don't know how people like have kids and like they can't do anything. Like they can't do anything because if you make $100,000 a year and you have kids and all these other things, it's like, dude, even going out to dinner, it's a stretch.
That's why it's impressive. Mom and dad were able to do what they did with
us.
I
mean, but if you even look at dad,
he worked extra jobs.
Right, he worked extra jobs and all those other things. I just don't see. Don't get me wrong. Like I could have a simpler life, meaning like I don't need to spend $8,000 to $25,000 on rent.
How was that flight to Dubai?
Right. Like I could lower those things, or I don't need to go spend $600 on dinner. I could spend $200 or whatever. But I don't know. I just never wanted to live life in a way where I had to constantly work. Oh my gosh, how much is this? How much is that? Because I saw mom and dad. I saw mom and dad do it the whole time when we grew up.
I remember my biggest thing growing up is that I told myself is that I'll know I've made it when I can go out to eat and I don't have to worry about like what's on the check.
Well, and it's a nice It's a nice feeling to just go, like I got it, and you're not like stressed out about the amount because this life is hard enough already. I feel it's just added stress. And the irony is that people add the stress by not taking a leap. Like, I don't know. I just look at like, each their own, but it was hard to do those things, especially when you've never done it before. I mean, I look back, like it took a lot of balls, but once you've done it, you can't really see life a different way. You're like, man, like why doesn't everyone do this?
Yeah.
It almost seems silly. Okay, so we're going to wrap up on what I call rapid fire. So these are just questions where, the first thing that comes to your mind. Best money you've ever spent?
Ooh, mentorship.
What's one habit that's made the biggest difference in your career?
Consistency.
If you could put one sentence on a billboard for the entire world to see, what would it be?
God is just preparing you. Be patient.
Maybe in Las Vegas it'd be repent. That's a good one. Where do you want the Chidester brothers to be 10 years from now?
Ooh. Dude,
and there's 3 of us for anyone who's listening.
You remember that the picture of all the houses in the cul-de-sac?
Bro, that would be so sick. That's why that actually would be my.
That would be.
Wouldn't that be sick?
Awesome.
Like
all of the Chidesters.
Yeah, I feel it'd be bad if Gentry's in charge of that because he'd only have certain people there. But.
Well, no, it's everybody is there, and you can have your wall up, your Great Wall of China. But I think that would be
So everyone knows what Bess is talking about is we saw a picture where basically it was like a family compound. So there was a main house, and then they had all the other houses surrounding it. but you know, it's going to be millions of dollars. But yeah, it's doable. It's doable. Last thing is, what's a question or topic I should have asked you about that I didn't? Maybe something you wanted to delve into, or something that would be helpful for people.
The book launch, moving to Vegas.
Really? Yeah, but I just
the book launch and moving to Vegas.
Yeah, but okay. So let's talk. What should I have asked you about that?
What was it like being part of a record-breaking book launch?
So what was it like being a part of a record-breaking book launch?
You can tell I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny now that we're talking about it. Dude, it was absolutely insane. Like, absolutely insane. What was crazy is that...
I mean, I was watching the numbers go up on the screen.
Yeah.
And it was, I think they were selling like 1,000 books a second.
What was crazy is just the amount of people who came into it and the amount of work that the team put in.
Yeah.
Like we had everybody on the phones. Like people who had never really been on the phones before, they were on the phones helping because we had so much influx of volume. Right. And leads coming in, and so
still explain to me. Still, like I still just don't understand why people are calling in. Like I'm just like click the button and buy the.
No, trust me. Like there's a lot of people that did that.
I just would never call in. Like,
I get it. No, trust me. I understand. Some people had issues with like checking out with Stripe or Shop Pay.
So you guys are not
Stripe, yeah, Shop Pay or what's the other one? Affirm.
Clara.
They were having issues with that, and so we would have to walk them through it. Or, you know, we would call them back because they were on the checkout page and we had a ton of abandoned carts. And so we were doing outbound to get them to actually repurchase and stuff. But just the amount of time and effort that everybody put into it, not just leading up to the launch, but also during. And then after it, going straight into workshops right after and having some of the highest scores ever. I think it just like, again, it just raised the bar of the mental capacity, but it was absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I mean, he set a world record, and the only books ahead of him is Harry Potter, which I've read all the Harry Potters, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a big TAM. It's a bigger market,
way bigger, and his was on money models, which nobody knew about until they actually started reading the book.
Here's a question off of that. Well, I mean, I know the answer, but I want other people to maybe hear it from you, especially since you work there. Like, why does everyone give Alex like such a hard time? It seems like, and maybe a better question is. Maybe we don't see all the good, we just see the bad.
No, I think you see more of the bad than I do, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think you see more of the bad.
It's just,
versus me. Like all I see is good, and I think
really,
and I think the main reason why is because he has just built so much goodwill. I mean, look at the book launch, dude.
Yeah.
All the stuff he gave away for free was for everybody who can't afford to invest in themselves.
Well, and to be honest with you, I wasn't paying too much attention to that. Like, what was all the stuff he gave away for free?
Books, frameworks, courses. Like, dude, he gave away so much stuff.
Okay, go finish your thoughts.
But yeah, so like he has just built so much goodwill, and it's interesting because we were talking to him in the gym. It's like, people will always judge you for what you do, no matter what. It's like they'll always judge you for the opposite.
Yeah.
And so he gave all the goodwill to people who are just starting or can't invest in themselves, and then he made the offer to everybody who wants to invest. And it's funny, I'm reading through money models right now, and he's like, you will never lose a customer by offering another option, but you will lose out on money by not making another offer. And so it's funny because I'm in like the 6th chapter for downsell offers. And it was just funny to read that. I'm just like, everything inside that book he did in the launch. And so I'm like reliving the launch in my brain.
I mean, that's the one thing he does well is like he tries to have proof for what he does, which the crazy part is he probably has to think through stuff way in advance. Mm-hmm. Like if he's writing the book and he's like, this is how I'm going to do the launch. Like it's like mind boggling to like sit there and like see how he's thinking through those frameworks for like probably months, weeks, and like building everything, all the slides he did. I mean, he said he did what, 400 slides or something?
Oh no, it was 1,700.
1,700. Like he was changing slides every few seconds.
Yeah.
And he planned out the whole thing. Yeah. And it's just the level of attention and detail that he puts in everything. It's like another level. It's like going to the gym and you're like there for 2 hours, and then it's like, let's say he was doing like triple the volume, and you're like, oh, like, okay, yeah. That's how it comes off to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think just because I started in the internet marketing world, I get why he transitioned out, and like I get why I'm transitioning out, because it's just a cesspool of shit for the most part. It's just like some of the stuff people will say. I'm thinking like, dude, like, why can't you, like, it's like they can't appreciate greatness. I don't get it. I don't even know if you remember, do you remember Billie Jean?
Yeah.
So Billie Jean, dude, I always look back at one of the ads, and I remember he was in San Diego. He's standing on his roof. He's talking about why do doctors make more than janitors, whatever. And he was like relating it to business. And I remember thinking, like, no disrespect to him, but I was like, in my head, I'm thinking, dude, like, this is like a chubby, bald guy who's rich as shit. Like, why can't I do it?
Yeah.
That's literally the thought I had. And you go to the comment section, and it's just like everyone is like hating. And I just have never related to that.
Yeah.
So even like when I look at Alex's launch, I just view it as like, good for him, great job, awesome dude, congrats, whatever, because it doesn't really affect my life in any way, shape, or form. Like someone buying his book doesn't mean they can't buy something I do, or it doesn't really have any effect on my success. But I think a lot of people view success that way. They view it as like, he's taking it away from me. And just some of the stuff people will say. I think people will say anything to justify like not feeling bad or not feeling like, I look at those things, I go, man, I could do more. Like, it pushes me. But a lot of people, I think they go, oh, well, I haven't done that, but the reason is, and they try to come up with whatever reason.
Yeah. It's funny to see, like, I think you get more upset over people saying stuff like that than Alex and Leila do. It's funny because if Alex sees something like that, he just laughs and then he moves on because he doesn't think anything of it, and he just like, oh yeah, I don't care. Like, it's just so funny.
I think it just bothers me because I know how hard it is to get to that level, because I've gotten to a decent amount of success. And so I'm sitting there like, dude, do you have any fucking idea like how hard he had to work to get there? And you're just on him, and you probably don't do anything in your life. Yeah. And then, you know, like the one post that really pissed me off was some guy said something like, he was making some Bible reference. He's like, oh, all the Hormozis care about is money and not kids or whatever. And I'm thinking like, dude, your kid literally has a dad as a fat. Like, you are the problem. Like, who do you think he'd be better off with, Alex as his dad or you? Like, and you're like, well, it'd be me, because I don't know. It just drives me nuts that people will try so hard to like prove themselves right, when it's like, dude, like, if you want to live life that way, great. He's also really good at what he does, and that's it. It's like talking on Tom Brady. It's like, dude, he's just good. Like, just appreciate it.
Just appreciate greatness. I'm in the same boat. When I see stuff like that, I'm kind of on the opposite, where I just kind of laugh because, it's like the Bible verse, right? When Jesus is on the cross, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Right. And it's just like Alex he looks at it the same way. He's just like, they have no idea. They're very significant, like, they're a very insignificant person in my life. I will move on with my day.
Yeah.
So he's gotten very good with that.
Which is a good mindset. And to your point, I probably just see more of it because I'm like, I built a lot of what I did in the internet marketing world, and I'm still in it a lot. I know Alex has like been out for a few years technically. So that's probably why. But it makes sense because, when he talks about it, he says, dude, that world is so small, because he's really graduated from that. So anyways, and I just think people, like, either I'm close to or friends with or whatever, like, I just get a little bit more like irritated because, I don't know, maybe it's just like protection type thing. Anyways, to summarize and wrap up, like, where can people find you, follow you? Yeah. What's the best place for them to connect with you?
Social media, Benson Chidester. So just my first and last name. And then if you guys are interested in coming out to scaling workshops in Las Vegas, you can go to acquisition.com. And you can apply and see if you're a good fit to come out to an in-person live workshop. Yeah,
and something else to wrap, like I was saying this, I've said this to other people, you go so hard for whoever you work for. I respect that with you, because Benson will treat whoever's business he's working for like his business. And I've seen you do it multiple times now where you basically like will post their links, post their content. Like, I remember you, even on the launch day, you asked me and Jen, you're like, yo, can you like share this? Because Alex, and it doesn't matter per se, but like it probably didn't make like, a huge significant impact, but I respect the fact that you care enough, because like from a CEO or owner perspective, like finding that in a company is extremely difficult to get people who care.
It's just being the best you can be and helping the company be the best they can be. And I just find that whenever I do that stuff, it makes it more personal to me. And it's cool being a part of the journey.
Yeah. Well, dude, super proud of you. I can't wait to see where you go. You're getting richer every year and more jacked, and you got more
hopefully I'm more jacked. Jeez.
Yeah, you more.
Came to town. I was like, I'm fat.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, bro. I mean, yeah, breakups will do that for you. But
revenge bud.
Exactly. But excited to see where you go, bro. And I'm proud of you.
Love you.
Okay.